Okay, so now we can finally talk to this guy, and it turns out he's actually Silver. For once, he's not getting captured by the villains. So with that, we can actually head up this elevator. And Misty Jr. is left behind again, but she's gonna magically teleport. Yep, she's in the elevator now, if you look closely. I think you caught a brief glimpse of some Sephiroth here for a second. Yep, here he is. The big boss himself. Yeah, so from the character's point of view, this is only the second time they're meeting. And that's all he has to say. Well, we get to see him go up an elevator. I like the statue of Entei there, it's pretty awesome. Let's not be that quick about it, though. If we stay down here, there's a door there that you definitely want to make sure you head into first, because I think on my first playthrough I missed this room. This room is really convenient. It has a healing machine and a PC, ergo a save point. So this is your last save point before the final battles. That's kind of funny. But yeah, we actually have someone else using the healing machine before we can use it ourselves. So like I said, in my first playthrough, I'm pretty sure I actually skipped this guy entirely. And he's significantly weaker than most of the trainers in this area, but... I mean, seeing as the ones that are from here on are mostly boss fights. But, I mean, it's, you know, any amount of experience is good experience, especially since, like I said, you kind of want to be in the mid-50s for the final battles, and you'll see we're barely approaching the mid-40s now. So that's kind of an issue. The good news is, though, this game actually gives you a lot of places to grind at, and there's so many good grinding locations towards the end that it doesn't really get, you know, like overly repetitive or stale is what I was trying to say there. I don't know, this is probably going to paralyze, isn't it? Vigoroth has some pretty interesting animations. Well, no, it's not going to paralyze. And you only had 2 Pokemon, wow. Yeah, this guy is really pathetic, but that's gonna change soon. We're gonna be in for some very tough fights, including one that kind of comes out of nowhere, and is a bit of a sneak preview of the difficulty spike we'll be seeing. Well, the good news for you is, there's a healing machine right there, so you can just recover your Pokemon right now if you want. Of course, the loss to your pride will be much harder to or he could just vanish from existence, that too. What is it with random trainers in this game doing that? Anyway, obviously I'm going to heal here, and I would recommend saving at this save point right here. Because we've got another Shadow Pokemon snag coming up, and it's one that I guess could be somewhat difficult. Mainly because it comes in the middle of a fairly difficult fight. Because if we head up to where Nazgul was, we'll see here, there's a, I believe that's a, yeah, that's a Raikou statue, and there's a Suicune statue in the middle. Which is pretty awesome how they're referencing all of those Shadow Pokemon. So, we can't use this elevator, so we need to go and use the other elevator. But once we go to the other elevator, we're in for a bit of a surprise. Both elevators aren't usable. But someone comes down this one. Hey, I remember you from the opening movie. This is our first time seeing him pretty much in the flesh. Yep, this is the boss of Team Snag'em. Believe that's the first time we're actually seeing that name. So it turns out that Cypher was behind Team Snag'em all along, thus linking the two evil teams. So, we have a boss fight here, but weirdly enough, he just uses the normal trainer music. I know that he's not technically a Cypher admin, but they really should have given him a Cypher admin theme. I mean, he looks intimidating, his team is intimidating, that music would suit him perfectly. I believe he does use that music in XD, but, well, I mean, I guess that's kind of spoilers. But anyway, yeah, this is the Snag'em head Gonzap, and as you can see, his levels are a very big spike up. So I might be able to take, in fact, he's pretty much literally 10 levels higher than most of us. I might be able to win this fight at this point in the game, but it's going to be pretty tough, and I'm going to need to strategize quite well. So let's do this. Yeah, I didn't think that Hariyama would go down in one shot. At least neither of you are using Fake Out, considering that both of you can learn it. Now, is this going to one-shot or not? No. Wow, that did much less than I expected. I believe this is the first time we're seeing a Shift Tree too, and okay, that's not good, because Shift Tree actually has a lot of attack, and that's going to one-shot, isn't it? Yes, it is. Shift Tree is a Pokemon that I've always liked. I mean, it is kind of a glass cannon, and it's not exactly the best Pokemon overall, but it's still a pretty cool Pokemon to me. I remember using it on my first team in Ruby. That's probably the main reason why I like it so much, but anyway. Although I still find it weird that Shift Tree... okay, well, at least your partner is resistant to that. Holy wow, yeah, so remember what I said about this fight being a difficulty spike? But I do find it weird that Shift Tree is based on a Tengu, which are usually depicted as birds, and it's a tree. The weird thing is, when I first saw Shift Tree, especially its 3D animations, yeah, that wasn't going to end well. I thought that it was based on a Nutcracker doll, because of the way that its mouth moves. But anyway, there goes Shift Tree. You can't really see its mouth at this angle, but just the way that it does that thing with its mouth just always reminded me of those. And now I have Crawdaunt, so yeah, he's using a lot of dark types, like many evil team leaders like to do. Okay, who's getting their bricks broken? Kick face. Well, that's not good. I'm already 2 down. Suppose I can send Jumpluff out here and at least resists fighting moves from that Hariyama. I probably would have KO'd that Hariyama if I used High Jump Kick though. So yeah, this is why you don't want to use Medicham as a special attacker, or even a mixed attacker. And I'm mostly using Surf here just to pick up the KO on the Hariyama, to use the moves that a lot of VGC commentators like to use. They always say pick up the KO on insert Pokemon name here. I think I actually did apply to be a commentator once at one of those, but I mean, I doubt they'd ever let me. I'm not super knowledgeable on the competitive scene, even though I have played in several VGCs. I mean, I've never really achieved any significant success in the VGC, but, I mean, I've won a couple of local tournaments, but nothing even vaguely resembling, yeah, you're pretty much gone at that. Yeah, this battle is severely hurting my team. I may even need to break out the revives if this goes any worse. I forgot that Crawdaunt can even learn Sludge Bomb. Yes, this was the main generation where it benefited from it, since it was physical here. Yeah, Crawdaunt is another one of those Pokemon that didn't like the way Gen 3 handled physical and special moves. I mean, what else is new for a Dark type? Kind of wondering what to use here. I could even try and Ice Beam the Pinsir, but let's see. Well, I was able to one-shot it. Such is the power of Dan Green! Also, I like how Pinsir shakes his fist in frustration at being KO'd. And Skarmory! And we have our Shadow Pokemon for this fight. It's a pretty impressive Shadow Pokemon at that. Cypher definitely gives good Pokemon to its top operatives. Also, something that I think is really cool about this Skarmory is that this Shadow Skarmory being owned by Gonzap was foreshadowed ever since the very beginning of the game. And yeah, Crawdaunt does not appreciate Crabhammer being special, not physical. If you remember back to the opening movie, after Wes flees the exploding hideout on the motorcycle, if you look at the sky, you'll see that a Skarmory flies out of the hideout and follows him. This was most likely this very Shadow Skarmory. Gonzap likely sent his Pokemon out to follow them and see where they were going, which might explain why some Team Snag and Grunts encountered them in Phoenix City later on. So, I really like that detail. It's something that I've been waiting to mention until now, but go back and rewatch the opening movie and you'll definitely notice the Skarmory there. And I'm sure that couldn't have been a coincidence. They had to have planned that intentionally. Something that's often said is that nothing ever happens by accident in animation. Every little detail that you see in a cutscene has been specifically placed there. Well, unless it's an in-engine cutscene that's working based on in-game stuff, and yeah, I am using revives here. like some of those cutscenes in one of the Assassin's Creed games where a bunch of NPCs came in and interrupted it. Oh, I love glitches like that. Well, that wins the award for most unnecessary critical hit of all time. And Groudon just curls up in a little ball for shame. Anyway, though, this Skarmory is his last Pokemon. Skarmory isn't exactly known as the best attacker, although this Skarmory has some pretty awesome moves. Although it can't use one of its best ones, because I believe that's its Shadow Rush move. I don't think I need revives. Probably do need to use a High Potion, though. I'm pretty sure... Okay, so let me just quickly spoil this before the bio does. This Skarmory does have Drill Peck, but I forget if that's in its Shadow Rush slot or if it's not, because if it's not in its Shadow Rush slot, then I am going to suffer quite badly if I send Jumpluff in, because Jumpluff is probably going to get Drill Pecked. I guess we'll find out now. But yeah, in any cutscene that has been specifically animated, I'm just trying to paralyze it, basically. I had a feeling that would happen, so Jumpluff's presence here is pretty much useless. But, oh well, I guess I can try and... I really don't know. Just chip away at it and get drained a little bit. Kind of lowering its health down a little bit, because Skarmory does have... And I know that I think the catch rates in this game have changed, but if catch rates are their real catch rates, then Skarmory has the same catch rate as Mantine earlier in the game, which is, to say, very, very low. It's like 25, so I'm weakening it a lot just to be sure. But yeah, speaking of Mantine, I didn't really notice until I went and did their bios, until also people pointed it out, but Skarmory and Mantine almost have the exact same stats, just inverted in the physical and special departments. And it's weird because Skarmory just rose to insane prominence as one of the best walls in all of competitive Pokemon, while Mantine was just completely forgotten. It really just goes to show how much of a difference typing and move pool makes. Because Skarmory in Gen 3 had no physical weaknesses, which was great for a Pokemon that was a physical wall. Whereas Mantine's typing, even though it has Gargantuan special defense, it's got a lot of special weaknesses. Well, one particularly big one. 1, 2, 3. Skarmory get! I'm surprised that was the first ball. Skarmory, a name known and feared by anyone who played competitive battling in, well, really almost any generation that it appeared in, unless you play doubles. Skarmory is pretty bad in doubles. Skarmory's monstrous physical defense, along with its amazing typing, which in Gen 3 gives it no physical weaknesses, made it arguably the best physical wall in the entire game. So it's a fitting Pokemon to be owned by one of the late game bosses. Skarmory has a few other assets besides its defensive ability though. Its attack stat isn't terrible, and it learns some pretty good moves to make good use of that. The main one being Drill Peck, and you're very, very lucky in this game. Drill Peck is normally an egg move for Skarmory, and Shadow Pokemon in this game don't usually have egg moves. This one actually does. Which definitely makes it a great option, though that is its purification move, and being a boss Shadow Pokemon, Skarmory has a very big heart gauge. Until then, you're stuck with Air Cutter, which is physical in this gen, remember, and does hit both opponents in a double battle, does make up for that slightly with a high critical hit ratio, though. You've also got Metal Sound on your starting moveset. Now, this is unlikely to benefit Skarmory itself, but sharply lowering the special defense of an opponent opens up some good combos for a specially offensive partner. Like, say, Espeon, Entei, or Suicune. Steel Wing gets stabbed and that's about it. You really don't want to use Steel moves if you have a better option in this game. This is one of the few times where a Shadow Pokemon doesn't learn any additional moves by level up, but it really doesn't need any. All you really need is Drill Peck, Metal Sounds, and I'd recommend teaching one of the recommended TM moves I have listed there. All of them are helpful and benefit Skarmory's defensive nature. There are really only two downsides I can think of to using Skarmory. The first is its abilities are both terrible. That's one of the few bad things about it in terms of raw stats. The second is that it's passed over spikes and there's no move relearner in this game, and it's also unable to learn Whirlwind, so one of Skarmory's main claims to fame in competitive is out of reach to you. And I guess Skarmory is not that important to catch for Dex completion because it's obtainable in Ruby and Sapphire normally. And really, with only the final battles left, Skarmory is likely not to see much action during the main storyline. But still, it's a great Pokemon to catch and transfer back to your GBA games. Or even train up to use in this game's battle mode, since you can import story mode Pokemon into that directly. And actually, I only needed to revive one Pokemon. That fight went surprisingly better than I expected. I love how his hair droops when he's defeated. It's pretty funny. So, we've beaten our old boss. We also get a bit of a weird thing here. You actually do get a prompt here, but it doesn't actually matter what you say. If you say yes, he assumes you're trying to trick him. And he scoots aside. Weirdly enough, he says there's no going back for us, but there is. We can leave here whenever we want. And that's what we're going to do. After this, I went into major grinding mode. Like I said, you want to be around the mid-50s before you take on the final slew of battles in this game. And that's what's next, the final battles. But before that, I'm going to show a bit of an Easter egg fight that happened during grinding. So, I'll just be cutting over to that. It's a fight that a lot of you have probably been looking forward to. So, here I am at Pyrite Cave. My levels are a bit higher because I battled everyone in Pyrite Town, including Kale, everyone in the Pyrite Building and the cave to get here. So, this is a very obscure Easter egg. In order to get this, you have to backtrack all the way to Pyrite Cave where Mirror B used to be. And this guy's there. You have to do this at some point between defeating Dakin and before beating the final boss. So anyway. So, yeah, I'm just gonna let that sink in. This is Miracle B, Mirror B's insane fanboy. This is one of the very few fights in this entire game that's permanently missable, and I'm just appreciating just how weird the music is here. Yes, this is just a sped up version of Mirror B's normal battle theme. So, this fight's gonna look really easy now, because you're meant to do it much earlier in the game, but I'm doing this at the last possible moment that you can do it. Because, like I said, this fight is missable. If you beat the final boss, Miracle B will disappear forever. In this room will instead be Firma and Wreath for rematches in case you failed to snag their Shadow Pokemon earlier in the game. Kinda weird that it works out that way, but it just does. It's a bizarre Easter egg, but a fun one nonetheless. I know that in my very first playthrough of this game, I actually missed this fight until I think I either read a guide or, like, in a magazine or online explaining that this guy existed, because it is really hard to think that someone would go out of their way to go back to an area they have no reason to backtrack to, and before beating the final boss at that. Another miss with Fire Blast. Yeah, people say that Focus Blast and Stone Edge are Focus Miss and Stone Miss, but to me it's always been Fire Miss. And you hit through Confusion. This music is still amazing. And I hit this time. You must be using Quick Attack or something, because there's no other way that you would have... Oh, of course. This would be funny if it actually KOs the Sand Slash before I get a chance to attack it. Nice survival there, Dan Green. Although, what did I really expect? Wow, I thought that you wouldn't be able to do it because Electrode has pretty pathetic attack power, but yeah, nice job. I mean, it makes sense for someone as weird and out there as this guy to be causing more damage to his own Pokemon than to us. Yeah, this guy is pretty much comic relief anyway, it kind of suits him. So, now he's got to send out 2 new Pokemon. Linoon, well, at least I can respect him for that. Linoon is a pretty cool Pokemon. But they come right into my Fire Blast. Please tell me that's not directed at... Yeah, it is directed at Seeking. This is just... This battle is just... It's something to behold. It's kind of weird how, despite Mirror B returning in XD, Miracle B is nowhere to be found. They could have had a lot of fun with his loony fanboy coming back. Okay, I'm gonna try and kick that Lino in the face, I think. I still, like, I'm being silent here just because this music is just that weird. It just kind of mesmerizes you into listening to it, just out of how weird it is. Sneaking using Waterfall. It's actually kind of interesting, because Waterfall did exist as a move back in Generation 1, and it was actually Seeking's signature move, but one of the few moves introduced in an earlier generation to become an HM in the later one. In fact, it might be the... No, Rock Smash later became an HM and started out as a TM. So, yeah, it's not the only one. And, well, sadly, there goes Linoon. Now, I always used to pronounce it Linoon, but I'm pretty sure it's Linoon. Well, someone leveled up from this, at least. No, hey, he even has Mirror B as Shadow Pokemon. Except not Shadow. I forgot he actually had that. I should actually mention something kind of amusing. Is that when I was looking up this guy on Bulbapedia, I saw that his French name is... I know that it's probably not pronounced this way, but his French name looks to me like Disco Bill, which I think makes him even more hilarious. I think it's like a play on Mirror B would be like Disco Ball, but... Disco Bill. And, well, yeah, that didn't last long. Like I said, you're probably meant to fight this guy earlier. But with that, I'm gonna be kind of abruptly ending this part. I don't think Pokemon Battle ability has any relation to the ability to grow an afro, but anyway, maybe Mirror B would disagree. Unfortunately, I think you can only fight Miracle B once, so that's a shame. And you don't even get any special reward other than just the sheer hilarity of it. Yeah. So, I'm going to be ending this episode here, because next time I'll be going into Pyrite Colosseum, then I'll also be doing the Under Colosseum and Mount Battle, so we'll have a few filler grinding episodes before the final battles of the game, so sorry about that, but that's kind of just the way it goes. I like to show off the optional content in the game. So with that, I'm just going to head back to, there's a save point and a healing machine pretty close. So with that, I will see you next time for some episodes that you can feel free to skip if you're watching this later and everything's been uploaded and they're all in one playlist. But if you want to see some of the optional content of this game that not a lot of people who play it on YouTube cover, then go ahead. That's also part of the reason why I want to show these. Specifically, the Under Colosseum has some pretty interesting fights in it. Actually, I think I'm leaving the cave entirely. So anyway, see you next time for some Colosseum battling. See you then.